Hey guys, Scotty here with Strength Rebels, and just reading this really cool paper by fellow Canadian Stu Phillips group. Stu Phillips, a really big fan of his work. He's out of McMaster. Recent paper they put out. This is a review article, not a systematic review, but a narrative review. But it really puts a nice spin on what is the type of activity and exercise needed for maintaining health as you grow older, health and vitality. And I love the title, "Growing Older with Health and Vitality: A Nexus of Physical Activity, Exercise, and Nutrition." I'll excuse the lack of an Oxford comma because I respect Stu. So maybe next time, Stu. Anyway, just to get into this a little bit. Really fantastic. It talks about the population aging. Is it a concern? Is it something that we need to worry about? Obviously, there are a lot of concerns with aging and a lot of things that can happen as you get older that can have a significant impact on health. One of the big ones that they talk about that I really agree with is the impact of sarcopenia, which is really a loss of muscle mass. And so how do you counteract that, and what's important? Well, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail relative to the effects of sarcopenia. We know that it has a big effect on activities of daily living. But one of the things that I really want to point out here is this graph here that they put in here, which I think is really fantastic. So they're looking at muscle mass or strength on the y-axis and age as you get older on the x-axis. And they've sort of defined an arbitrary disability threshold where we can say that if you have a certain level of loss of muscle mass or strength, that you will have some significant disability. Then they look at the decline, the relative decline as it happens, and that it's not necessarily a linear decrease. What you'll see is, in the literature, there's a cited rate of loss that happens at about this level, but it's probably not linear that way. There's a biological decline that simply happens because of aging, but if we have some disuse associated with that and potential for sickness and injury causing further disuse, you can see that actually drops it below the biological decline. Now, this graph doesn't talk about interventions for that, but we certainly know that with good quality training, you can reverse this. You can actually, we're still going to decline, but you can really slow the rate of decline. So then they talk about, well, what do you do about it? And they break it down into looking at the physical activity guidelines. And I just want to highlight one thing that they talk about here. It's this paragraph here, or what they talk about is they say that often the guidelines for older adults involve brisk walking, dancing, climbing stairs, ADLs, fun things, right? Which is all good. Nothing wrong with that, absolutely. And saying that, well, if you're going to improve muscle strength, you can do things like carrying weights, heavy loads, groceries, weight-bearing activities, stepping and jumping like dancing and that. So the guidelines are very broad, and they do recognize that in here, and they say, I'm going to just refine this a bit and say the guidelines, in our view, are somewhat ambiguous and non-specific for older adults. And I love this. The conspicuous omission from these guidelines is the specific recommendation of structured resistance for promoting the retention of strength and balance and an associated improvement in the health and vitality of older adults. Guys, this is absolutely the truth. You need to have a quality resistance training program in the older adults that you work with. Activity is great, and I think you need that as well. You need general activity, something that's fun, something that they'll do. Best exercise that someone does is something they'll do continuously. But if resistance training in some way, shape, or form is absent, you're doing your clients a disservice, right? Get them active, get them strong, and we will keep healthy, vital older adults and prevent the disabilities that are associated with it. That's all for now.